Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Thursday. It is a Thursday Thoughts edition of the show. So if you have thoughts you'd like to share with us, go to Twitter, tweet at us at Soccer Down Here, send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail, or join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. We got a lot of stuff to get into. We're going to start with something that you might not have seen happen live overnight. I did not see it happen live overnight. I was on the Copa Libertadores train last night, watched a great match between River and Sao Paulo. River ended up getting the dub, and were really strong, and it was a really fun match to watch. I started winding down. I did not watch San Diego Loyal and Phoenix Rising last night in USL Championship. It is the talk of the soccer world after what happened. Just to catch you up on what's gone on with San Diego. So we talked about it, that they forfeited their match after the fact, after a player was racially abused, and that player has since been released by the LA Galaxy and was suspended for a number of games by USL Championship. They did not know it happened at the time. Nobody heard it on the field from the coaching staff. They said they would have walked off if they had heard it, so they retroactively forfeited the game. I didn't think that was necessary. I think they could have made their points otherwise. Well, they made their points in a different way last night, and what they did was necessary, and it was absolutely necessary. There is some question about what happened, and you have to be fair and say that. But what happened last night was late in the match, late in the first half, Colin Martin was red carded. Colin Martin, former DC United player, former Minnesota United player, openly gay, playing in the USL Championship for San Diego, was red carded. And it made no sense. Referee said he heard something. The San Diego players immediately started pointing in the other direction, and the referee, after a lot of conversation, and Landon Donovan came out on the field, which you can't do. Lots of conversation. He rescinded the red card after talking to his AR, and you were getting some of the field audio on the broadcast on ESPN Plus. It is available. You can go back and watch it for yourself. So it's a lot of confusion. The referee made it clear, like, I thought I heard it from here. I'm wrong. It's rescinded. Then it was halftime. And we'll come back to the conversation between Donovan and Rick Schantz of Phoenix Rising in a second. But teams go to the locker room at halftime. After a lot of back and forth, it looked like Landon Donovan was going to pull San Diego off the field at various points. Referee blew for halftime. They go to the locker room. They come back. Landon Donovan was red carded, as he had to be for coming out on the field the way he did. That's just the rules. I mean, on the broadcast, they talked about the respect that Landon Donovan has and being a legend, and all that's true. He has to be red carded. That's proper. Okay, that's handled. The reaction had nothing to do with Landon being red carded. The reaction had to do with a gay slur being directed towards Colin Martin. You can see different elements where it is brought up. Allegedly, it is a Jamaican slur that was said by Junior Flemings of Phoenix Rising. And you see when Donovan and Rick Schantz are talking before they go into the locker rooms for halftime. You see a San Diego player come over and yell in the direction of Schantz and the bench that you know what it was, you know what that means. The conversation between Donovan and Schantz, and you don't hear every bit of it. I'm going to make that clear. You don't hear every bit of it. There's parts that you can't quite tell what was said. You see Landon Donovan's reaction very clearly. You hear Landon Donovan say very clearly, we've got to get this out of our game. Paraphrasing. And you hear Schantz say something, and you hear Schantz say something about it's just soccer. And Donovan puts his head in his hands and is just astounded and walks off. I'm going to give you a quote that Rick Schantz said, and this had actually, I believe, been published yesterday. The Rising has offered support for the Loyal Football Club, and Schantz believes that if such an incident occurred at a Rising match, his team would have responded. This is the quote from Rick Schantz. For me as a coach, in my mind, with my players, an immediate reaction would have been more warranted. If that ever happened to us, I would expect our players to support and defend each other. That changed in this incident last night. Phoenix has issued a statement. Shortly before halftime during the Phoenix Rising FC match with San Diego Loyal SC this evening, confusion occurred surrounding the referee's issuance of a red card to a San Diego player. Phoenix Rising is investigating the claim of a homophobic slur being used by one of its players who has vehemently denied these allegations. Phoenix Rising stands with the USL in rejecting and punishing any homophobic behavior. The player, Junior Flemings, issued a statement on Twitter, and Fleming said, this evening in our match against the San Diego Loyal, I was accused of making a homophobic slur towards a San Diego Loyal player. This accusation is false, and my fellow teammates will support my claim. Throughout the match, I battled with the San Diego defense to do my job and score goals. In the 45th minute, the referee issued a red card to Colin Martin. The San Diego defense then attempted to persuade the referee's decision and convince him he made a mistake. San Diego claimed that I made a homophobic slur towards Colin Martin with no evidence to support the claim. The referee was then mobbed by the San Diego Loyal players and head coach on the field. The referee then had to step back and discuss with his assistants to better understand the situation. I'm going to stop the statement here because it goes on. Go back and watch the situation where the red card's issued. Colin Martin did nothing to get a red card. Like, there's nothing that happens there that you would see that would be a red card. It made no sense. Martin and Flemings had bumped in the lead-up. Flemings went down trying to get a penalty card inside the 18. Martin wasn't involved in that sequence. And then Martin's shown a red card. Like, it made no sense. So, of course, San Diego's going to be a little surprised about their player getting a red card, and he wasn't even involved in any kind of a tackle or anything. Back to Fleming's statement. The referee admitted he did not hear any homophobic slurs and was utterly confused by the situation. That's not the way I heard it in what you could hear on the field mics. The referee admitted that he misheard because he sent Martin off. He gave him a red card. He admitted that he misheard something, so that would mean he heard something. Just saying. Fleming says, at no point did I say a homophobic slur towards Colin Martin. I do not know Colin personally, but I respect all of my opponents equally, Colin included. I am disappointed by San Diego's actions this evening as I have been mauled and ridiculed online with no opportunity to defend myself. This is my statement. I stand in solidarity with the LGBTQ plus movement. That's what I've seen so far. And John, if there's anything else from Phoenix players, San Diego players, please bring it to our attention. That's what we've seen at this point. San Diego Twitter, after they walked off the field, because the way it played out, they came back out for the second half. Landon Donovan's red carded, as, again, he had to be because he came out in the field. You can't have that. He's red carded. The players came out, whistle blew, players took a knee, walked off the field. Referee blew the whistle 3 times, ended the match. San Diego's Twitter said, in the first half, a member of Phoenix Rising used a homophobic slur directed at Colin Martin. In response, we have decided to walk off the field in protest. Last week, we made it loud and clear that we do not stand for racism or homophobia. Nothing has changed this week. Here's the deal. I mean, San Diego's winning 3-1 in the match. San Diego is playing one of the best teams in the league in this, winning in a playoff race, and walked off the field in the situation. That doesn't add up to an overreaction. That doesn't add up to not hearing something and just nothing happened. It doesn't really fit. We don't know. You couldn't hear it on the game broadcast. I mean, it's out in the field where they would have been. They would have been about probably 40 yards from the cameras and the field mic. I'm not sure what other mics they would have had around, but you couldn't hear any of the conversation on the field at that point. What you heard was when they were by the 4th official. So I don't know because I didn't hear it, but it has been said multiple times from people who have went through the footage and went through the footage and went through the footage that it was a Jamaican slur that was issued, a Jamaican term for a gay person, gay man, I guess specifically, that was said. And that was what led to the whole incident. So that's where it stands right now. We do have a longer clip from Landon Donovan when he spoke with San Diego. But, John, what have you seen anything else? Is there anything else that we've missed that we need to add to this?
Other than recommending that folks watch the Landon Donovan post-match interview.
I'm gonna play it here in a minute. Yeah. It's 4 minutes, but we're gonna play it because it's important to play. But what else?
According to the San Diego official website, quote, players and both team coaches reportedly heard the slur, but the match referees did nothing about it. This is once again the San Diego official site. Mm-hmm. Instead, Martin was shown a red card that was later rescinded. Flemings reportedly used the homophobic slur as Phoenix Rising FC pushed upfield with counterattacks after Samuel Stanton had scored for the visitors a minute earlier, end quote.
Okay. I don't know. That doesn't seem to make much sense, but okay.
And then Donovan, and this probably comes through in the interview, quote from Landon Donovan, we went through a really hard incident in the LA match, made a vow to ourselves, the community, to our players, to USL, that we would stand for bigotry, homophobic slurs, things that don't belong in our games. So much so that we made a statement on our signboards. We made a statement saying, I will act, I will speak. Last week, our one regret was that we should have done something in the moment when Elijah was racially abused. That was our regret. From our players, from me, I wish I would have done something. Had we known what had happened, I think we would have done something. The USL released this statement. Quote, we are aware of the alleged use of a homophobic slur in tonight's match between San Diego Loyal SC and Phoenix Rising FC. Foul and abusive language of any type has absolutely no place in our society and will not be tolerated in USL matches. An investigation is currently underway to determine the facts surrounding the incident, and more information will be provided as soon as it is available, end quote.
Hercules Gomez of ESPN tweeted, and he's quoting the people involved. And this is roughly what I heard as well. So this is where Donovan and Rick Shantz are at midfield. And, I mean, it's a tight camera shot of the fourth official with her back to the camera, the referee facing the camera, Donovan to the left, Shantz to the right. Donovan is incensed and is going at Rick Shantz pretty strongly, and says, we have to get this out of our game. It's homophobic. Rick Shantz said it's a part of soccer. And you can see him kind of step back. Can't see if he's rolling his eyes or not, but his head's making the motion of an eye roll. And he says it's a part of soccer, shrugs his shoulders, and Donovan puts his face in his hands. That's roughly what I heard as well in Gomez's tweet.
Yeah.
This is what Donovan had to say after the match. Like I said, it's a little over 4 minutes. It's on San Diego's Twitter account. But this explains it from his point of view.
So, we've been through a lot in the last week. This club, our players, the organization has been through a lot in the last week. And I understand that most people watching from afar probably don't really get it, but we've been living it. And so went through a really hard incident last week in the LA match, and we made a vow to ourselves, to our community, to our players, to the club, to USL, that we would not stand for bigotry, homophobic slurs, things that don't belong in our game. And so much so that on our signboards, we made a statement saying, I will act, I will speak. Right? So if something happens, I'm going to speak about it and I'm going to act about it. Because last week our one regret was we should have done something in the moment when Elijah was racially abused. And that was our regret. From our players, from me, I wish we would have done something. And had we known what had happened, I think we would have done something. So we also agreed with Phoenix before the game. Our players reached out to their players and said in the 71st minute, which was the minute that it happened to Elijah last week, we were going to stop the game. We were going to hold a banner together that said, I will act, I will speak, I will act. Because we don't want to just talk about it. We actually want to do it, and we wanted to send a message. So in the end of the first half, Colin came over to the fourth official after crazily somehow he got red carded, and told the fourth official that he had been abused by a homophobic slur by one of their players. And when I heard that, I lost it, because I know what this team has gone through. I know how hard it was for them to even take the field tonight, given everything that happened. And then for it to happen again a week later was just devastating for me. So it was a really difficult, probably 20 minutes, because our players, in the heart of the moment and the passion of the moment, still wanted to play. I mean, they were kicking Phoenix's ass, right? And that's a great feeling as a soccer player. But if we want to be true to who we are as a club, we have to speak and we have to act. So after halftime, we all decided that if the player who used the homophobic slur was not removed from the game, either through the officials or through their coach, that we were not going to play. Because if they're not willing to act, then we have to act. We have no choice. I asked the referee to do something about it. He said he couldn't. He said he heard the word. He knew the word was said, but he didn't know what it means. He doesn't know what that means, so he couldn't interpret it, and he didn't want to send him off because he doesn't know what the word means. Fair enough. I can understand that. If you don't speak another language, he doesn't speak whatever that was, Jamaican, then that's fine. I also then went to their coach and said, I just want to be really clear on this. We've had a really hard week. He and I talked about it before the game, about how much we've been through. And I just said, if you don't pull the player off the field, if you don't sub him off, our players are not going to play, because we have to make a stand. So either you do it or else we're going to have to do it. And he said, I'm not going to sub him off the field. I said, okay, that's fair. That's your choice. And then our guys, to their immense credit, just said, we're not going to stand for this. They were very clear in that moment that they were giving up all hopes of making the playoffs, even though they were beating one of the best teams in the league handedly. But they said it doesn't matter. There's things more important in life, and we have to stick up for what we believe in. And so they made the decision to walk off. And I have tremendous pride in this group, and I'm really proud of this organization and that I get to be a part of it.
Full credit, man, to Landon and San Diego in doing that the way they did, because it's pretty hard to argue with anything that was said in that. There were a bunch of different ways to solve this. There were a bunch of different solutions. He's right on the referee side. First of all, he makes it clear the referee heard something. So the statement from Fleming's, there's dispute there about what the referee heard and what didn't hear. If the referee didn't understand the slang terminology, okay, that makes sense. Can't send him off if you don't know what that means. Got that. But before halftime, you saw a San Diego player come over before the conversation with Donovan and Chance really got going. You saw a San Diego player come over yelling at Chance and in the Phoenix bench area. You know what that means. You know what that means. And Chance said something like, what's his problem? Well, you know what his problem is. So while the referee does have that, it's not an excuse, because that's not fair. That's making it seem like he didn't want to do something. If he doesn't know what it means, he can't send somebody off. I got that. That's fine. The referee shouldn't be getting crushed on this. But to not sub him in that moment after the statements Phoenix made coming into it, that's on top of it's part of soccer and that nonsense. There's not really a way to redeem that one if you're Phoenix and you're Rick Chance. That's pretty horrendous. One other thing from all of it last night, Will Carpenter, who is an owner of San Diego Loyal on Twitter, tweeted this. From the Facebook live stream, Junior Flemings used a slur in Jamaican, and Landon told Rick Chance to pull him and they'd play the second half. Chance needs to be gone before he gets back to Phoenix. we'll see how USL handles it. It is a little difficult. They're going to have some statements, and if the referee, and this is where they're going to have the backing that they would need to act on it, if the referee writes in the match report what he heard, even not knowing what it meant at the time, but what he heard, and it's in the match report, and the referee saying that, that's your statement. So the match report will be a big part of this. I'm sure other players will be asked about this. In light of the statements that Phoenix made before the game, this is incredibly just awful, to be honest. It's a part of soccer crowd, and you can say whatever you want, just try to get under somebody's skin and all that. I'm with Landon Donovan. This stuff has got to be out of the game. It's got to be out of the game because this has to be a game for everybody to enjoy and be part of. You can't do these things to try to get under somebody's skin or to try to get a reaction out of them. There's plenty of ways to do that without racially abusing somebody, dropping homophobic slurs, all of that. There's plenty of ways to get under somebody's skin in a competitive situation without resorting to that nonsense. So, to say it's just part of soccer, no, it doesn't need to be anymore. It doesn't need to be anymore. And I've always had a lot of respect for Landon Donovan because he's always been outspoken, to the point that a lot of people have criticized him. A lot of people were, including, honestly, the U.S. men's national team coach at the time, very insulting about his comments that he made about mental health when he stepped away from soccer for a little while in 2013. And it cost him a spot in the World Cup. He's paid a price for being outspoken and trying to change the way that this game is talked about and looked at. He lost his last World Cup. He did. You can point it all the way back to the time that he needed a break and said he needed it for his mental health. That cost him a World Cup. To make a stand like this and to explain it in such a thorough, complete way, that's what's needed for change. Landon Donovan is doing amazing things for American soccer, and he should be celebrated for such. I had questions about forfeiting a game where and he said it again in the statement, like he didn't know, they didn't know, the players didn't know that, one of their teammates was racially abused in the game against LA Galaxy 2. They would have done something if they had known. I agree. I think they would have, especially after what we've seen here. To punish themselves for not knowing, I didn't think was really necessary. I think you could have done a lot of those things with statements. This is different. And to back that up is just incredibly powerful. And you have to give them a ton of respect. And you have to give Landon a ton of respect for walking the walk. He has wanted to change American soccer in a lot of different ways. Doing something like this needs to have an effect towards change. And it's just a part of soccer crowd, they got to go. They got to go.
One final thing from Rick Shantz. He came out on Twitter about 1 o'clock this morning Eastern time, and it's about the exchange that we saw leading into halftime. Mm-hmm. He says, at the start of halftime of the Phoenix Rising FC match with San Diego Loyal SC, I was heard on video asking San Diego's head coach Landon Donovan how long he has been a part of soccer. My question was in reference to Donovan's behavior on the field with the referee, and in no way was I excusing any alleged homophobic behavior from my players.
Okay. That's not the context of what we heard in the conversation. And again, you're not hearing every single... They're not mic'd up.
Right.
It's a natural crowd mic. It's a natural sound mic. They're near midfield. You're not getting the complete language that both are using. What Shantz says he said and what it was in response to doesn't fit what you hear. It doesn't fit it. Donovan had to be red carded. Like, there's no way around that.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. That's part of the game. Right? The coach can't come out in the field and do that. But this is not a normal situation either. And he knew he was going to get red carded. I don't think there's any question about that. There's any issue with that. He was standing up for his player because you can hear, go back and watch the broadcast. You can hear when it first happens and you see all the San Diego players go and like, why are you red carding Colin Martin? Because you can hear that mic that's near midfield where the benches would be. You can hear Landon, and there's a couple things he says that are of the four-letter variety because he's ticked off. But you can hear him say, oh, that's what happened? Like something along those lines? And then that's when he set off on the field, knowing he's going to get sent off if they continued to play. And, yeah, they would have played the second half without Landon Donovan, and San Diego would have played it if Phoenix had pulled the player, and they didn't. And they're backing their player. And look, I understand that. I understand Phoenix, in the midst of all this, trying to defend their player. But I'm not really buying what Rick Shantz tweeted. It doesn't fit the context.
Nope.
It just doesn't. I mean, you can go back and see it and hear it for yourself. It just doesn't fit it. I mean, I don't think there's anything here we need to worry about too much in terms of language. This is the 22-second clip that Herculez Gomez posted on his, and again, you're not going to hear everything directly, but it kind of flies in the face of what Rick Shantz tweeted.
And he heard something.
Okay. And again, we are still here trying to get the explanation. Landon's there. Rick Shantz, who is head coach for Phoenix.
Yeah.
Tell you.
Rick Shantz's comment is embarrassing. Rick Shantz should probably go ahead and delete that tweet. You can hear it there muffled. Landon Donovan saying we've got to get this out of our game. And Rick Shantz says, how long have you been a part of soccer? He's not saying what he tweeted he said.
Yeah.
That's an embarrassment. That's an absolute embarrassment. And no, you got no outs anymore, Phoenix. That's a clown show, and the club needs to do something about it because that right there should be reason to move on.
Yep.
Just no question. I mean, read his tweet again for me, please.
Sure. At the start of halftime of the Phoenix Rising FC match with San Diego Loyal SC, I was heard on video asking San Diego's head coach, Landon Donovan, how long he has been a part of soccer. My question was in reference to Donovan's behavior on the field with the referee, and in no way was I excusing any alleged homophobic behavior from my players.
One more time if you can catch this, and there's not a whole lot I can do to boost it.
Yeah, there's crosstalk with play-by-play color, and they're trying to dissimulate dissimulate the information as it's being said.
About 15, 20 seconds.
And he heard something.
Okay. And again, we are still here trying to get the explanation. Landon's there. Rick Shantz, who is head coach for Phoenix.
Yeah, that just doesn't match up. I'm sorry, that just doesn't match up. Yeah, they gotta make some moves. Phoenix has got to make some moves today. USL needs to make some moves today as quickly as they can. They'd have the referee report by now. It would have been sent right after the match. That's an embarrassing situation for Phoenix Rising. It's an embarrassing situation for that club. So they need to fix it, and they need to fix it fast. Massive respect for Landon Donovan, massive respect for San Diego Loyal to stand by what they have said they would do. And look, it's probably because, you don't have a whole lot of time to replay games or sort things out. It's probably going to end their season.
Yeah.
The table right now, and I don't know how they put this in. I'm assuming they have not added it to the USL table. I'm at the USL Championship website right now. San Diego was 3 points out of the final playoff spot with LA Galaxy 2. Phoenix was in first. That is going to cost them a playoff spot.
Yeah.
But it's important. It's very important for Landon Donovan and his club to do it. So massive, massive amounts of credit for them for standing up for the right thing here. And no, anybody who says that's a part of soccer, you don't need to be part of soccer if you're going to have that type of attitude.
No, and apparently looking at tiebreakers and everything out of Group B, that did end their season. So that forfeit puts them at 20.
We'll see what USL Championship does, because they have not said it's a forfeit yet. The match was not completed, and it would go down as a forfeit, but we will see how things go on the USL Championship side. So I don't want to say their season is over, but they are risking their season being over by taking a stance.
Yeah, the way that, like I said, the way it's listed could change, so that's where we are in Group B. But, hell of a stance last night by San Diego, and incredible, massive props for Landon Donovan and the whole organization for what they did last night.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot more to come out of this. It happened pretty late last night. Guessing that was the 10:30 kickoff or 11 kickoff, so you're talking 11:30, 12. I didn't know about it until I woke up, started digging into it, so... this is going to make the rounds in a big way worldwide, because it's Landon Donovan. It's a U.S. soccer legend, a legend who's known around the world, and it's at a time where this stuff has been talked about, and there's been a call for action. Well, you got action last night. You got action in a very clear way, with a team not losing a match, not looking for a way out of a match. Not any of the cynical crap that people will try to throw at when people make these kind of comments and say, we don't want this in our game anymore. Oh, well, you were losing. Oh, well, no, they were beating the best team in the conference, one of the best teams in the league, handily, and they walked off. That gives it a little different level of power, in my opinion. Lots of other stuff to get into. If you guys have thoughts, we'll get into it. We don't know where this is going to go yet in terms of replays or what they do with this match. I can't wait to see what USL Championship does. So if that comes up while we're on this morning, we'll let you know. We'll share it on our social media platforms when they make an announcement at Soccer Down Here. Let's catch up on some other news from around the world and involving the United States as well. Serginho Dest has been introduced at Barcelona. Pretty cool video. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go check that out at Barca's official site. Reporting has this as a 21 million euro deal initially, further 5 million in add-ons. The player has a 5-year contract with a 400 million euro release clause, so he's not getting released from that. He'll be the second U.S. player in the first-team squad right now. Conrad de la Fuente has kept his spot in the first-team squad for now. We'll see if he goes back to Barca B. But he's been in the mix so far. So you've got 2 U.S. internationals at Barcelona at the moment, and Dest, they paid big money for him. I saw a comment, and I don't know if it's necessarily the best way to put it. The comment was, I hope that young American players look at this and decide not just to go to Germany. Well, Dest is not a typical young American player. We have to make that clear. He didn't grow up in American youth soccer and then go to Ajax. He grew up in Europe and was at Ajax and then made the decision to represent the U.S. So he's a different conversation entirely. I do hope in the long run, I think this is what the heart of that kind of comment was getting to, is that Spanish clubs and Italian clubs and Portuguese clubs and clubs from all over Europe start to look at American players, whether they grew up in Europe, whether they grew up in the United States, whatever, playing for national teams, playing for the U.S. youth national teams, the U.S. senior national team, look at them differently because of what we've seen from some of the success. Because it's been primarily Germany and England where they've landed. Scandinavian countries before that and still a little bit lesser. But, yeah, we need more U.S. players playing in any country in the world because they need to be at the right club. It's not about the league. It's not about the going to Europe and that fixes everything. It's about being at the right club with the right coach. And if players are good enough to play for Barcelona, that's a pretty good situation. And maybe a Getafe, maybe a Villarreal will start to say, well, hey, we can get a good price on this player coming out of Major League Soccer or this player in the U.S. U20 system. Let's go sign him. Maybe this opens up some doors.
Yeah, and when you look at the enthusiasm of Barcelona fans where in 1 hour they have already seen that video that came out on Serginho Dest over 425,000 times. And I know it's only, I know it's only 20 seconds and people can sit there and they can sit there and look at it and pick it apart, whatever. But the fact that you have that kind of enthusiasm about a player, and I'm just looking forward to the day where we have American players with American backgrounds who are just regarded as a player who happens to be from America instead of the other way around. That's how I want to see things eventually happen when it comes to the talent pool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much the talent pool. It's more of what these different leagues look and think of American players. I mean, I think American soccer needs to rate American players a little bit better as well.
True, yes.
Jossie Zardes would like to make that complaint.
Yes.
Quite a few others. This idea that you can't come out of MLS and be a player is a joke, and it needs to stop, and it's mainly perpetuated by Americans, which is insane to me. But yeah, you also need clubs in La Liga and Serie A and other leagues to look at American players as a good purchase. I mean, look, I think some of the same things apply that we talk about when we look at the Argentine Primera División and the Uruguayan League and leagues in South America, where you're getting a lot of value for the money you're spending to bring that player in. I think if you're looking at buying players, MLS should be a very good place to buy players from, whether they're American or not, but especially American players. I mean, I've watched a good bit of games from around the world, especially lately. There's a lot of bad number 9s in mid-tier to lower-tier first division clubs. Jossie Zardes could go play there and do just as well, probably better. But he developed in MLS, and some people look at that as a negative. That's got to stop. That's got to stop. The Dest situation, yeah, Captain Ragamuffin said he isn't, quote, from America. He didn't develop in the American system, I think, is the important thing from a soccer conversation to have. Yeah. He's looked at differently, I think, by a Barcelona because he developed at an Ajax. It is a different conversation. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But just the fact that he's got that American flag next to his name, just the fact that he'll be playing for the U.S. men's national team can help. I have said it, and I'll continue to say it. I think Alphonso Davies and his time going to Bayern and what he's done helps MLS, helps the American player in MLS as well because he developed in MLS. Yes, he's Canadian. Yes, it was Vancouver. Still part of MLS. I think Christian Pulisic's rise, who did not develop in MLS but did develop in this country for a long time before going to Germany, helps the American player, helps MLS. I think those things are very important. Bernd Dursberger says this, and I agree with the first statement in a big way. I think Dest should have gone to Bayern. I think from a long-term perspective, I totally agree. I think Bayern would have been a better fit. It's a more stable club right now. I think from a development perspective, it would have been better. He might have played a little bit less quickly, and that's probably what pushed him to go to Barcelona. And also, I don't know if it's just he wanted to go to Barcelona because the offer was there. I don't know if the salary terms were very different between the two, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Burns says, yesterday they played Chris Richards at right back, who's another American player who's not a right back. That's accurate. He said they played Chris Richards at right back after Pavard subbed out. Dest could have easily made that team as a starting right back. Things at Barca will remain a mess. Xavi will come in next season, and who knows who he likes at right back. That's accurate. All that's definitely accurate. I do think Bayern would have been the better fit for Dest to choose. It's still a big deal that you have an American player at Barcelona. That is a big deal. And he's got to make the most of it now. And yeah, I don't know if Ronald Koeman's going to last very long there. I do think Xavi will be the next manager at Barcelona. If it's next year, if it's the year after, I don't know. But he will be the next guy. I would go take all the good breakfast food that I like and put it on that. I'm not picking the year, though. But he's the next manager of Barcelona, in my opinion. And anytime you have a change, yeah, people like different players. He'll have an opportunity to prove it. And the one thing that does help him at Barca, and I think it would have been okay at Bayern too, but it helps him at Barca that he did come from Ajax, and he does come from that system. And that's going to help him with Ronald Koeman. That's going to help him in general, because if Barca does go back to their roots with Xavi, who got those roots from a Pep Guardiola and from the Dutch coaches that preceded Pep, and going all the way back to Johan Cruyff. There's a lot of intermingling between Ajax and Barcelona. So that's going to help Serginho Dest there. It will help him a lot. But Barca is a far less stable club. I think the question that a lot of people had was, would he walk into a starting spot at Bayern? He does at Barcelona. And that might have made the decision for him. I don't know. I hope it's the right one. It is exciting to have a U.S. international at Barca. That's always an exciting thing to have a player in that Barcelona kit. But we'll see if it's the right long-term decision.
What else happened internationally that you wanted to get into this morning? I know Copa Libertadores was a part of that.
Yeah, we'll come back to Copa in just a minute. Couple other bits of business news that we haven't gotten into too much. Germany. TV rights. We talked about it when their domestic deal was done, and they got just a marginal decline in the rights fees. A lot of people were expecting Amazon to jump in. They didn't. Pretty static in terms of their rights fees for their next contract. They have struggled a little bit overseas. According to the German business outlet Sponsors, the DFL could see the total value of its international broadcast contracts for the upcoming campaign fall by as much as 20%. Bundesliga International is the overseas sales division. They brought in $292 million US dollars. Last year, it could fall 20% from there. They have done some key business, though, and this was an interesting one that I saw. September 2019, when they got the deal with ESPN for the ESPN Plus streaming rights for Bundesliga, $41 million for 5 years. That's what ESPN reportedly paid for the Bundesliga rights. Robert Klein, Bundesliga International Chief Exec, cited the South American and Middle East and North Africa territories as markets where financial realities put bumps in the road when it came to negotiations. They've had to try to get pretty creative in getting games on in those countries. And I don't know if those were areas that the Bundesliga previously did really well with, or if they were always a struggle and they're just a greater struggle right now. But that's where they're having some problems at the moment. Remember, we talked about it fairly recently, the Martin Braithwaite signing for Barcelona, where they did it outside of the transfer window. There was a rule that La Liga had that you could sign a player to replace an injured player outside of the window, had to sign them from a La Liga club. They paid the release clause, so there was nothing Leganés could do about it. Leganés was not able to replace Braithwaite, which was the most ridiculous part of it. That rule has been eliminated from the La Liga rules. They published their new rules. That Article 124, which allowed Barcelona to do that no longer exists, so that can't happen anymore. This emergency signing kind of thing is there in a lot of leagues for goalkeepers. It's not usually there for a field player. Barca found a loophole. It was in the rules. I mean, they didn't break the rules to do it. It was a dumb rule that La Liga had. They fixed it. So that is now handled. We've got a couple bits of transfer news that we'll get into, but I wanted to talk about this one first. Wigan. Looks like, fingers crossed, they've got an investor coming in from Spain. They've not said who it is yet. The club's administrator said this yesterday, that they are pleased to announce we've reached agreement with a preferred bidder from Spain. The offer that has been accepted deals not only with the sale of the club, but also allows the payment to non-football creditors to avoid the 15-point penalty this season. That's what the administrator's Begby's trainer said in a statement on Wigan's website. So hopefully we'll hear more today, but it looks like that is going to save Wigan.
And, we chronicled them as what's been going on in the European theater. This is good news that you hope comes to fruition, and it's not the situation that we've had with the two previous owners that has gotten Wigan into this mess. You're hoping that this is genuine, because we all know the fan base is there. We know how loyal they are. We know how much of a part of the fabric of English football Wigan Athletic is, even with their recent history when it comes to FA Cups and things like that. But you see a piece of news like this, and you hope that this comes to true fruition. Yeah,
it appears that it will. We're waiting on the next announcements on this one. going back to almost a little bit of what we talked about at the top of the show, remember the situation with Neymar and Alvaro Gonzalez of Marseille, the alleged discriminatory comments that were made. No action is going to be taken against either one. Could have been suspensions for up to 10 matches. LFP in France Ligue 1 has said that they're not going to do anything about it. Now, there's been another one with Neymar since that, where he is caught on video. I don't know the language here, so I don't know, but the reports out of France were that he was caught on video racially abusing an Asian player. So keep an eye on that one when it comes to Neymar. Remember, Neymar accused Alvaro Gonzalez here of discriminatory comments. It sounded like afterwards the comments were more about Neymar's family than racially motivated. Ligue 1's not doing anything about it, but now Neymar might have another incident that he's got to deal with separately, and we'll see if anything comes of that. All right, let's get into the transfer side of things. We'll stay with PSG for a second. Thomas Tuchel in a press conference. Didn't sound like he was exactly happy with what's going on at PSG. He said, "We are losing too many players on a free, like Rabiot and next year possibly Di Maria, Draxler, Bernat. Then we can't buy players. It'll be harder to reach Champions League final again with this team. If you look at Atletico, they got Suarez. City, they bought 2 defenders. Liverpool, they bought 2. Tuchel does not sound very happy at the moment. Somebody else who's not happy is Donny van de Beek's agent. He came out about the way Manchester United is using him. He has played 24 minutes so far in Premier League play. The agent is Sjaak Zwart. He is a legend for Ajax, now Van de Beek's agent. And he told a Dutch outlet, "A substitute, I don't like it at all. I couldn't do it, coming on with 4 minutes left. You'd have to leave me on the bench." And then talking about the game with Brighton last weekend, he said, "But normally they should have lost 7-1. Brighton hit the post and the bar 5 times. They have a nice team, but that shouldn't happen to Manchester United." Whew, not good when the agent's that vocal.
He's that fired up, yeah.
I don't think Ole really cares, but that's not a great situation. It feels like maybe a little early for the agent to be jumping like that, but who knows? Barcelona's still chasing Eric Garcia for Manchester City. They want to give up less money and Rafinha to City. City does not want Rafinha. They want 20 million euro. Barcelona looks like they're going to raise their offer to the 12 to 15 million euro and take Rafinha out of it. We'll see if that's going to be enough. You're starting to run out of time because it all closes Monday, late afternoon our time. Looks like Roma and Manchester United have got their agreement done with Chris Smalling. He's wanted to go back to Roma. They've wanted to bring him in. 15 million euro fee and a 4-year contract for Smalling of 3 million euro per season. That's according to the Corriere della Sport. I think that's it on the transfer side for now. I'm sure we'll have more because there's still quite a few other players that are mixed up in this. One other thing from women's soccer that we didn't get to talk to you about yet. Australia, who had been linked with Jill Ellis at one point, had even been linked with Phil Neville. Tony Gustafsson is going to be the coach. He was the assistant for Jill Ellis for the last 2 World Cups for the U.S. women's national team. He is going to Australia, 47 years old, originally from Sweden, part of Jill Ellis's staff. That was announced on Tuesday. So Australia has their manager. And Jill Ellis didn't get the England job or the Australia job. I just wonder if because reportedly the England job, she was asking for too much money. I just wonder if maybe she'd rather be in the club game. And she put such a number out there that it's like, yeah if you're going to pay this, I'm going to do it. But I'm going to pick a club where I can work day to day. I'd like to see her in the club game. I've always questioned tactics with her. Players question tactics after the fact, but it was players who were not part of the core group, so I kind of somewhat get while they'd have sour grapes. I'd like to see her work in the club game day to day, and we will see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes if you really you want to look like you're interested in something. You sit there and, but you've got to pay me this amount of money that is way over on the edge of the bell curve. And you want to test to see if someone really is that much interested in having you be a part of them. So you just kind of price yourself way past your normal price point. And I think that was part of it. Yeah.
Captain Ragamuffin with a very important question on the Twitch pitch. Who is the better Beek or Beek, because it is Donnie Van de Beek or James Van der Beek?
Oh, or Perry Van der Beek from the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
I think that might be different technically. I don't know. I don't know where the variations in the name went to. Maybe Perry's in it. I don't think many people know Perry. Sorry.
Well, since I'm 78 years old, that was where I brought that in.
It's true. Legend for Tampa Bay Rowdies. I don't know if he beats Mox
James Van der Beek,
or Dawson out,
No.
so I'm going to put James first there.
Yeah, I am too.
Donnie and James. I think Donnie needs to play more than 24 minutes in the Premier League before we can make this decision. I don't know if Mox made it pro, if we're going to go down that road.
True.
But he didn't want that life. So, he didn't want your life. He wanted his own life, and he went to Brown.
Why do I have this vision of Mox being like an arena or indoor football legend in Texas, just kind of traveling from league to league, playing from team to team?
It's possible. I think that probably would have come after some time in the CFL, actually. I could have seen him go into the CFL, throwing the ball all over the place, all these crazy things, and then comes back and plays in the Arena League, until he's 45 or something in these random little towns in Texas, and you get the announcers from the high school games calling those games.
Yes.
That's all it.
It's time for Mox in the indoor war, y'all.
That's pretty good. Nick says he was more of a pacey guy anyway. Man.
Well, see, and now and that's another one of the debates. Is it were you Team Katie Holmes or Team Michelle Williams? That was the other question for Dawson's Creek.
I don't think anybody had that debate really.
Everybody was all Team Katie Holmes.
Pretty much. I mean, they based the whole show around her. Like it wasn't. It started as Dawson's Creek. It was not Dawson's Creek for very long. It became Katie Holmes's Creek.
Yes.
I mean, that's just where the show went. I ended up watching that show kind of towards the very end because I was a 90210 guy. I watched 90210 religiously until the last season, where after Brandon left, it wasn't worth watching anymore.
True. Granted that one.
I never liked Dawson's Creek as much. I still don't think it was as good. It was a better series than I thought it was originally. There were some good moments in it, but it also went on way too long.
Yeah, it did.
It went way too long.
Yeah,
way too long.
I watched, I like you, watched 90210, and then I got into the first couple of seasons of Dawson's Creek, but then it got long in the tooth for me. It's like, okay, come up with some kind of a resolution already. Yeah. And then I made a point to watch the series finale.
Because I got into it right as the series was ending, and I think they had put it on like TBS or something, and I was working retail at the time, and I was doing the afternoon, evening shifts, managing a store. So they put them on where they do like 3 of them in the morning, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this, and I got hooked on it. Yes, nobody expected the Dawson's Creek 90210 conversation this morning, and Chris Ashley is furious about the Dawson's Creek slander. It's not slander. I've watched every episode, Chris. I just think 90210 was better. That's all.
Well, and like I said, I think Dawson's Creek started out well, kind of
faded. I disagree. I don't think it started out well. I thought it started out trying way too hard. I think once they got into the, I guess, last year of high school, maybe the last 2 years, then it was really good. The difference, teen drama down here, absolutely, Atlanta Phoenix.
Yes.
The difference for me is 90210 is the only high school show that effectively transitioned to college. None of the others did. Like Saved by the Bell, college, no. Dawson's Creek going to college, no.
No, that's bad.
90210, it worked. They did it right. They're the only ones who did it right and did the college run. They struggled after college, where it's like,
the real world stuff.
Yeah, because they like made them all struggle and have stupid things going on, and it's just like, no, No, that's not what you want to see from these people.
And Steve Sanders trying to be a dad.
I mean, that's fine, but it's just, no, it wasn't as good afterwards. But they did the college part right, so that's where they get it.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Nick says, because 90210 kids were in their 30s. Seemed more natural to be in college anyway.
That was just Gabrielle Cartera. She was 30 when the series started, I think.
Yeah, she was older. I think Luke Perry was older too, but not that old. Jenny Garth and Brian Austin Green were young during the show, so they weren't too far off.
Tori Spelling was too, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Ropes is throwing Buffy the Vampire Slayer into the mix.
Never got into Buffy.
I did, but it's been a long time since I've watched any of it. I did get into it for a while.
Like the movie, but I really didn't get into the TV series.
And I don't remember their move to college in Buffy. And yes, Katie, it did transition to 90210. It did. And Katie's on team 90210 over Dawson's Creek. Sorry, Chris Ashley. Chris says go back and watch the OC. That ish was bananas. That's one I never got into.
No, I never got into it.
Never got into it. I can't say it's good or bad. I never got into that one. This is getting a lot of conversation. This is funny. Katie says she thought that Ian Ziering was older as well. He might have been.
Yeah, I think so.
If I remember right, Gabrielle Carteris was 30. Luke Perry and maybe Ian Ziering were in their later 20s. Jason Priestley and Shannon Doherty were in their mid to early 20s. And I know Brian Austin Green was the youngest. Jenny Garth was young. And I think Tori Spelling was probably in between the two.
Yeah. Ian Ziering was, quickly doing math, 26 when 90210 started.
Rope says on Buffy, they did go to college in real life, too, the last 4 seasons. And I watched it. You might be right. They might be the other one that did it right. Because, I mean, that's a pretty long run where they did the college time as well. And I remember it being good. I cannot tell you. It's been so long since I've watched it. But I did watch it at that time. And, yeah, they would be the other one. Okay, that's a good call, Ropes. I'm with you.
But yes, Ian Ziering is officially 56 years old.
Okay, now I feel really, really old. Thanks, John. I think 90210 almost lined up with... Yeah, it did almost line up with me, with my age. I think it might have been like a year off, like when they graduated high school. 2000. No, but when did they graduate high school? Was it 93,
that would have been the
94?
93 season, wouldn't it?
I don't remember, but it was like I graduated high school in 95. So I think that's why 90210 was like my show, because it was almost like my age. Mezzano, you're going to have to clue me in here. I'm pulling a John on this one. I do not understand the reference of, no, BMW was so much better than those other shows. Feeny, Mezzano says. What show is this?
BMW?
Yes. I don't know. I'm baffled.
Know.
Boy Meets World. There we go. Thank you, Nix. And that's another one I did not get into at all.
Yeah, I didn't get into that one, although I do appreciate them naming a character after a canyon.
They did. I didn't get into it. That was more comedy, though, wasn't it? Was it more sitcom?
Yeah, sitcom.
Okay. So it's maybe a different category here altogether. I guess you could put Saved by the Bell in the sitcom category, too, if you want to be fair about it. So we'll take the 90210, Dawson's Creek, OC. I know there were other ones, but those are the first 3 that I think of. And we'll put them to the side. We'll put the sitcom side. Oh, Buffy. We'll put Buffy with the dramas. We'll take Boy Meets World and Saved by the Bell to the other side. More sitcom comedy stuff. For some reason, I didn't get into the ABC, TGIF shows at all. I didn't get into any of them, so I missed out on that. I was 90210, and then, yes, Melrose Place and its ridiculousness.
Yes.
Saved by the Bell. I grew up on that. Got into Dawson's Creek at the end of its run. Haven't seen the OC at all. Never watched a whole episode. Man, there was a WB one, and now I'm drawing a blank. A One Tree Hill, that was the other one that would be in that category. No, The Heights was not the same thing, John. The Heights was like one season, and it was a band. It wasn't a high school thing. That's not even the same thing.
Yeah, One Tree Hill was another. And
Luke Perry Hill. Luke Perry was what?
Luke Perry was 24 when the series started.
Okay, he was a little bit younger than I thought. Okay. I did not expect this turn this morning, but this is good times.
Right Turns brought to you by.
Yeah. More teen TV conversations, go ahead and continue. But first, sorry, Steve Apolinsky, for leading you in from the teen conversation, but tell us about Steve.
I can certainly do that. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. If wrongful death and serious injury matters are a conversation you need to have, you can have them with the firm, Steve included, Apolinsky and Associates. You can do it a couple of different ways. Give them a call at 404-377-9191. You can shoot Steve an email, his own bad self, Steve, S-T-E-V-E, at aa-legal.com, or you can go to the website, aa-legal.com, hit enter, hit return, whatever device you're using, large or small. Pop-up window will pop up on that screen, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up. You can have a conversation 24/7, 365 and a quarter with the individual who is monitoring the conversations on those pop-up windows. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for wrongful death and serious injury matters. The website and the firm, Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
All right. His bad self, really?
His bad self.
Okay. All right. That's
did you see the Danny Barrera goal from last night?
I did. It was absurd. I don't think we can do it justice on an audio format. Go to any USL highlight place and find that one. That was craziness. He just throws his heel back up and deflects a goalkeeper's throw into the goal, and it was a winner, right?
Yeah, it was a winner. Made it 3-2 in the 90th minute, and that kept Hartford in contention for the top spot in their group.
Bonkers. All right, let's get caught up on the Twitch pitch because everybody is still rolling down all of this. Badgermon has been compared to Mr. Feeney, which is always good. Says, want to feel old? Try teaching your daughter's friends, juniors in high school, and being compared to Mr. Feeney. Pacine, if you think 90210 or the OC was more realistic than Boy Meets World, your life was much more interesting than mine. I didn't say it was realistic. I said it was a drama as opposed to a comedy. But I didn't watch Boy Meets World, so I couldn't tell you. Go ahead.
Breaking news sounder, please.
You're breaking into this very important conversation?
Because it's really important.
Breaking news from John.
Kefsey was an extra in Dawson's Creek.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What, like, in what episode? What was Kefsey doing? We need more
details on this, Kefsey. Kefsey just sends a DM and says, of course you'll wait till I'm at the dentist to discuss Dawson's Creek. I was an extra.
We need more details from Kefsey on this. That's pretty amazing. No, I don't think they were all that realistic. Although 90210 in the first season especially was much more on the realism side. Then you brought the Beach Club into it, and it got out of hand.
Mm-hmm. Because they had to do the summer season, they wanted to flip the schedule so they could get more viewers with fresh episodes from Fox, and that's why they had fresh episodes in the summer and it didn't wait until the fall.
Well, yeah, it was brilliant because it put them on with new episodes against reruns, and it kept the show afloat and got them an audience. I remember. I think that's when I found it because I don't remember watching the first season too closely when it aired. But going back and watching it, that was really realistic to me because I moved in high school from Lexington, Kentucky to Stockbridge, Georgia after my sophomore year. So I could relate to all of the new kid in school stuff. Not at West Beverly High, but I could relate to the whole thing about being the new kid. Katie watched Melrose and My So-Called Life, which is one of my favorite pieces of television ever, My So-Called Life. It only lasted one season. Hated that they didn't renew it and continue it because that is one of my favorites. And I've watched it not super recently, but I did watch it well after it aired because that aired when I was in high school, I think senior year. It might have been my junior year. And I loved it, and I've watched it since, and it holds up. I think it's really, really good. Ropes throws Gilmore Girls into the conversation, which was not exactly a teen drama, but I know there were teen elements to it.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's older sister, younger sister kind of thing.
Yeah. You had that as a part of it, but a little different. Mizano talking about Boy Meets World. It was pivotal in how it addressed sensitive topics, and I do know that much about it. And sometimes comedies are the way to do that. I mean, think a lot of shows did, and it wasn't all Jesse Spano singing, screaming, I'm so excited, I'm so excited, I'm so scared, because that turned into a funny moment that wasn't funny at the time. I don't think it was intended to be funny, but wow, that was a moment.
Yes, yeah, that's a way to describe it, yes.
Yeah, Katie singing How Do You Talk to an Angel from the Heights, which is an amazing one-hit wonder. Let's see. We'll get into the drones cleaning the bins, Pacine. We got it. It's coming. We got on a big-time sidetrack here. Ragamuffin asks if you were more welcome back Cotter.
I mean, once again, the first couple of seasons, because of the full cast, and then when Travolta left, it just kind of got a little eesh.
I couldn't tell you anything
Mr.
about
Cotter!
That, I only know that. That's the only thing I know.
You only know Horseshack?
I just know that line. I didn't even know what his name
Cotter!
was. I got nothing.
I have a question, Mr. Cotter.
I got nothing. Chris Ashley, it's coming. Relax. Anything else on this? Maybe we'll just come back to it. So, okay, we'll come back to the team stuff.
Yeah, because we've got other folks on the Twitter timeline with questions not related to team drama down here.
Well, let's get back into real news then. And thanks, guys.
Harumph.
Yeah, seriously. Let's hit the Twitters real quick.
Okay. Overnight, Jake Michaels with his Thursday thoughts.
Okay.
And he says that they are relatively optimistic this week.
Okay.
I think that this team has a solid base to build off of for 2021. The backline has talent. The midfield has potential with Moreno, and Joseph returning will obviously be a big boost. I think the biggest gaps, assuming a Barco departure, are the 6 and a pair of dynamic, chance-creating finishing wingers. With at least one open DP spot from a Barco sale, I think with the right moves and a coaching hire, this club can surprise next year. Thoughts?
Yeah, it shouldn't even be a surprise. I mean, that's the thing to me is you get everybody healthy in this team, and we'll leave Barco in for now, but you'll have to replace him at some point. Jurgen Damm is one of those wingers. Barco's the other one for now. I think the biggest questions going through the depth chart for next year, you need a 6, no question about it, and you need to decide how you want to play the midfield. Is it going to be a 6 and 2 8s? Is it going to be a true number 10? Is Moreno the true number 10, or is he more suited to be an attacking 8? How do you structure that? Because if you want a 10, you're going to need to go get a true 10 unless you think Barco's the 10. Then you need to go get a left winger. So that part is the question. The 6 is the one you got to solve. That, to me, is the biggest question mark going into next year. But, yeah, I don't think it's a surprise if they do well next year. I think anybody who is surprised by it is just not paying close enough attention.
Yes. So let's see. What else was on the Twitters as I was going down the Brandon and Nikki rabbit hole there briefly.
Okay.
Chris Ashley mentioned this guy's name back a while as a curiosity. I don't know if he's the right fit, but he definitely has the, quote, name value, end quote, and is in a position similar to Tata and Frank coming in after a rough go elsewhere. Wondering about David Wagner in MLS.
Potentially. He hasn't really talked about MLS in terms of he'd be interested in making that move right now. He didn't rule it out in some comments that he gave in the last couple of years, but it didn't sound like he was gung-ho. Bernd could probably chime in on his time with Schalke a little bit more than I could. The reviews were not good and not pleasant. He took Huddersfield to the Premier League, and he kept them up for a year, which was an accomplishment. I don't know if you would say that all of that was a big enough accomplishment. And I don't know if he would be interested because he's an American, but he hasn't worked in the United States. He didn't play in the United States. He played for the national team a little bit, but he didn't develop here. He hasn't worked in MLS. He didn't play in MLS. I don't know if he'd be interested, and I don't know if he's the best fit either. I have not heard nearly as many good things as I did, and yes, you had to cut through some of the bad things on Frank, but if you watched his Ajax teams that were title winners, you saw quality. I don't know if you could say that about Wagner's teams. I think it would be a hire because of the brand recognition, because of being in the Premier League and being in the Bundesliga, but I don't know if his work vaults him to the top of the list. He'd have to really win the interview, and he'd have to really come in with a concrete plan.
Nathan Pugh's in this morning. He says, USMNT players now at European royalty clubs, i.e. Juve and Barca, and yes, I know Ajax has more European cups than Juve.
Right, it's different.
I pray for much success for them and hope that this can increase play amongst Americans abroad.
Yeah, I mean, they've got responsibility now because, they go and they do well, then it's going to open doors for others. If they go and they not so much just don't do well, but if they have issues in any way, then, yeah, people are going to think twice about American players. So it's a big opportunity for McKennie and for Dest, but it's also a big opportunity for the American player.
Question to the floor, and I will pose this for everyone here in our SDH-ness.
Okay.
Tafka has a question. Is Atlanta completely out of King Peach kits? I keep waiting to see some on sale, but nada. I mean, they still have some concrete and strawberry kits. 2 shrug shoulders emojis.
I don't know. I haven't really looked in a while to see what's out there available new. I have seen the concrete strawberry one last time I looked because I've been tempted to snag one just to have one. But I have not yet. I haven't really looked for the peach one, so I couldn't tell you.
So if anyone has seen them, remember Tafka lives in Columbia, South Carolina, so help the man out. Oh, and Ellen Reynolds. Excellent point by Ellen Reynolds this morning.
Okay.
Ellen was a Party of 5 fan.
Yeah. I knew there was at least one big one that we were leaving out. That's true.
Party of 5. I was a big Party of 5 guy.
I didn't get into that one. That one was not my jam.
But no, Party of 5. That was a good one for me because of I got into that when I was
because of what?
No, it's just I enjoyed it. It was part of that whole block of stuff with 90210 and Party of 5 and those and Dawson's Creek in that era. So let me see when was Party of 5 a series?
Around that time. I think maybe just a little bit earlier than... No, it wasn't earlier than 90210. I guess it was around the time Melrose started.
Okay, so 6 seasons from 94 to 2000.
Oh, even later than I thought. Okay.
So it started season 4 of 90210 and ended at the same time. So Party of 5 and 90210 both ended in 2000.
All right.
So when we got into 90210 down here, I was trying to sit here. I thought that Steve was better with Claire than he was with Janet. I liked Nikki with Brandon. And who was Carly paired up with?
Steve.
So Carly Reynolds was also Steve. Okay.
Yeah.
That was Hillary Swank. I couldn't remember
she was on
her.
for like a season.
Yeah, I
before
couldn't
she got
remember
big.
Hillary Swank. Okay. So, yeah, I was always partial to Claire, disappointed that she went to Europe. But I like Nikki and Brandon better than any other pairing.
That's a random one. Okay. We'll come back to that. John wants to keep going down this rabbit hole. I see where.
Well, no,
it's
like you kind of reminded me of 90210, and I'm like, okay, how many seasons did I watch? And I think I went through the first 4 or 5 fairly religiously. So
there's a 90210 show podcast that has a bunch of the actors and writers and producers that started, I want to say a couple of months ago. And I guess it's almost the 30th anniversary, if not, we've already passed it, of the show first airing on TV. And I think they did a special episode. I haven't heard it yet. I need to go back and check that out. Okay, other news, non-teen drama related. Alex Pacine said, did you see this about drones cleaning the bins?
No.
I just saw the picture. Zach Klein of WSB has a tweet about it. Falcons and Atlanta United will be using drones to help sanitize Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The drones allow for a 95% reduction in time spent cleaning the bowl. And the pictures you see, the drones flying over the seating bowl and spraying out the sanitizer. The sanitizer has been used by a lot of different places, so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, from just a delivery standpoint, yes, it's faster than people, and you can cover more ground. And yeah, I mean, look, the stadium has done a lot of things in terms of finding new ways to do things. I mean, I remember the Seattle Sounders saying that they had to have a 48-hour window to turn the stadium over from football to soccer and vice versa. And I remember the first time Atlanta United had a Saturday night game and the Falcons were playing Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
No problems. No problems at all, and there was no paint in the field. They've found ways to do things faster than others. This is just another example. It's a pretty cool idea here.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the pictures yet, so now I'm going to go screaming over to Zach Klein's Twitter account just so I can see this thing working.
Okay, and Chris Ashley's yelling at us about USL League One news. And This was from yesterday. The final, Friday, October 30th, will be in prime time on ESPN Deportes. It is the first time the USL League One final, it's the second League One final, will be on linear TV. The Spanish language network will carry the final with a live English language stream on ESPN Plus and the audio broadcast on SiriusXM FC. It's a big step. I mean, it's you're getting to linear TV for the first time, and yes, it's on Deportes, but you can watch it in English on ESPN Plus. And I love that ESPN Deportes is carrying more USL action in general. That was a big part of the USL TV announcements that I thought was underplayed. That's a big deal because they previously had not carried anything of the U.S. lower divisions, and now they are. And to have a final from League One there is pretty cool. To have it on SiriusXM FC is pretty cool. This is a pretty sweet deal. It's a big announcement. It's a good look for USL League One, and it could be, not trying to jinx anything, it could be in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yep, and Chris Ashley will keep us up to date on the number of points needed for the Greenville Triumph to get into the playoffs and then to host. I think those numbers currently are 7 and 11 for the remaining matches of the season. 11 to get into the final. 7 to get into the final. 11 to host the final. So keep an eye on that as well. And I will catch up with Chris later today for our Greenville Triumph Weekly update to head into this weekend.
Okay. Little bit of an update on the German television part of things. This was announced. I just saw the article this morning, but it looks like it came out yesterday. The OneFootball app in Latin American markets, they have worked out a deal to have Bundesliga fixtures available through OneFootball. So that was the way to get around struggling to get on TV in these countries. Bundesliga First Division matches will be broadcast on OneFootball's platform for free in Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. So this is how they're going to get around that. Now, I would be curious to know what kind of rights fee, if anything, or if they're going to be a profit sharing on any kind of advertising. I don't know what that looks like. But it's an interesting move for OneFootball, who is it's a good app if you're looking for lineups and match updates, and they're starting to try to do more in terms of original content, more written articles, more video content. I'm intrigued by where they're going, and this was a step I did not expect.
Yeah, and for those of us who are becoming more and more locked into these devices and streaming and all this kind of stuff, I will probably add that to all of my stacks eventually, too, just as a place to go.
It's just a free app. They don't have games. No, they don't have games here. No.
Well, but then I'll probably download it and put it on my phone.
Well, I mean, will you ever use it?
If it's on my phone, I will.
Okay. Well, go ahead and do that, and go ahead and download that. It's a good one for lineups and stuff. I use it sometimes when we're on the road and waiting on a lineup to get posted or checking other games. It's a pretty good format. OneFootball is a good one for all of that stuff. Let's get into Copa Libertadores from last night. So we do have some new teams that have clinched their spots. We had a team finish with 8 players. Caracas FC, they lost 2-0 at home to Independiente Medellin, and they are in trouble to qualify now. River 2-1 over Sao Paulo, great match. Flamengo 4-0 over Independiente del Valle, dominant performance from Flamengo. Alianza Lima 2-2, they had a 2-0 lead and blew it to Estudiantes de Mérida, which will put Estudiantes de Mérida into the Copa Sudamericana for the first time. Junior lost at home to Barcelona, who Barcelona has been poor in the tournament, and they went on the road and beat Junior, which was a surprising result. So the tables as they stand with 3 matches today, you've got 1 round of matches left. Flamengo is into the knockout round. Independiente del Valle has a 3-point advantage on Junior in Group A. Barcelona could still get into the Sudamericana. They have 3. Top 2 go into the knockout round. Third place goes into the Sudamericana. Palmeiras is in. Guarani can be in with a point or better tonight against Tigre. Bolivar right now is in the driver's seat for Sudamericana, although Tigre could still catch them. Group C, Paranaense is in. Jorge Wilstermann is in the driver's seat for second place right now, but this group's going to be fascinating on the last match day because Wilstermann's on 7, Peñarol's on 6, Colo-Colo's on 6. Paranaense is on 10, so they don't have the winning spot locked up yet either. And as we go to look to what that final match day is for that group, Jorge Wilstermann goes to Chile to play Colo-Colo. Paranaense goes to Uruguay to play Peñarol. That is on October 20th. Those are 8:30 kickoffs, and that will be the one to watch in that. That could get really interesting.
The Colo-Colo has a lot to make up in goal difference, don't they? If things get to the same numbers?
Well, if things get to the same numbers, but that's assuming Colo-Colo wins and Peñarol wins to get the number 2 spot. Yes, they have stuff to make up in goal differential, but that's not a guarantee that they get there. You could not have that tiebreak yet. Group D, Liga de Quito on 12, River Plate on 10. Both of them are through. It's done. River could still win the group. Sao Paulo, 4 points, does not have a guaranteed spot in the Copa Sudamericana. And this is the first time Sao Paulo has not made it out of the group stage, I think in 33 years. It's a shocking fall for Sao Paulo. They've got to hold off Binacional, who has 3 points. Sao Paulo has 4. Now, Binacional has been terrible since they got their 3 points, but they go to Sao Paulo in the last match day. They've got to win in Brazil to get there. Sao Paulo should get their Sudamericana spot locked up, but it is not a guarantee, which is crazy for them to be in this spot. Group E, Gremio's on 10, Internacional is on 8. Gremio is into the knockout round. Internacional does not have it locked up yet. América de Cali could catch them. They're on 5. They'd have to turn over a pretty big goal differential as well, but it's not done yet. Universidad Católica is on 4. They could catch the Sudamericana spot. Group F, Nacional had been perfect before they lost to Racing last night, so both of them are going through. The group winner is not decided. Estudiantes de Mérida is in the spot right now for Copa Sudamericana. It's not locked because Alianza Lima could catch them if they win and Estudiantes loses. The thing is, when you look at Alianza Lima, they have set a new record that nobody wants. In Copa Libertadores play, they have not won in 22 matches. It is the longest winless run in the competition ever. So, you can't really expect them to win their next match, but if they do and they overturn the goal differential, they could catch Estudiantes for Sudamericana. Group G is tonight with all of their games. We'll come back to that one. Group H, Boca is through, and the Caracas loss, and they go to Boca on the last match day, is going to be wild because now they're in second place on goals scored over Libertad, who is tied on points, tied on goal differential, but has scored 2 less goals. Libertad will play Independiente Medellin, who has nothing to play for. They can't catch the spot to get into the Sudamericana. They had nothing to play for last night, and they won. So they have nothing to play for going to Paraguay to play Libertad on the 22nd. If they win, Libertad would be out no matter what happens, unless the goal differential could get crazy if Caracas loses. And they're probably expected to lose, going to La Bombonera to play Boca. So the one that we'll be watching tonight is Group G. Santos is in the lead, 4 matches, 10 points. Defensa y Justicia is on 6 points, 4 matches. Olimpia is on 5 points, 4 matches. Delfín is on 1 point, 4 matches. They are not out of it just yet to get to Sudamericana. They're not out of it just yet to get to the knockout stage, actually. Defensa goes to Ecuador to play Delfín. Olimpia and Santos play. Those matches, kickoff times tonight. Defensa is at 10. Olimpia Santos is at 6. You've got Tigre and Guarani at 8 o'clock from the other group. So if Santos wins tonight in Paraguay against Olimpia, Defensa can lock their spot up in the knockout round for the first time ever by winning in Ecuador against Delfín, who has been struggling this year. So big opportunity for Defensa. If Olimpia wins, it's not guaranteed that Defensa can go through with a win, and Defensa goes to Paraguay to play Olimpia in the last match day. So 10 o'clock tonight, Delfín hosting Defensa y Justicia. We'll be doing a watch-along on the Twitch. There's no podcast to go along with it. It's just going to be a watch-along. You can watch on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Sign up for a free trial. You can sign up for a subscription. They're an affiliate with us. Anybody who goes to that link and signs up, even for the free trial, helps the show. And we appreciate all the people who have already. There's been quite a few of you. It's been very cool to see. It's a product that I've had for 4 years. It's a product that I believe in. I think they're really providing a lot of great soccer to the United States. They do this worldwide, but in the U.S., like, I don't have BN through my cable system. Now I have BN. Goal TV I have. TIC I have. I have the Ecuadorian League. I have all the Argentine League matches. I get Copa Libertadores now. I mean, it's a great fit. Real Madrid TV is a really cool little bonus to have on there. Sevilla TV is very cool. You get the Guatemalan League. You get all kinds of different things through Fanatis. But you can get the Copa Libertadores tonight. You can watch along with us. fntz.co/soccer down here.
And you got me hooked on Fanatis as well. I've had it for over a year now, and it's addictive. Going from channel to channel, you got me plugged into TIC, so I'll have them on in the mornings as well. Here's your juice boxes for the Copa. 6 o'clock, Olimpia is a plus 117. Santos a plus 229. Your draw a plus 238.
Santos plus 200 on the road. Well, it's still on the road, but Santos plus 200 I kind of like.
Tigre a plus 177 at 8 o'clock. Guarani a plus 152, and your draw a plus 233.
Not touching that one out. It's a toss-up.
Delfín at 10 o'clock, plus 234. Defensa a plus 112, and your draw a plus 248.
It's a tough one. I mean, Defensa is in a place where they've never been, and Nick is screaming at me because I left out Rai on Fanatis, the Italian TV, Italian language. He was watching Italian Dancing with the Stars. Which has got to be pretty interesting. So Nick is yelling at me. You can stop yelling at me, Nick. I'm sorry, I forgot. I don't have that one yet because I have the Italian matches elsewhere, and I'm not watching for Dancing with the Stars. I'm sorry.
No.
I'll watch the Colombian telenovelas instead. They're not 90210, but they're pretty good. Except if I really can't tell what the drama is yet. It's just a lot of people standing
I'll
around.
watch 7 guys on a set on TIC yell at each other.
Well, yeah, that's always fun. I mean, we're talking the non-soccer stuff you can get on Fanatis, John. Like, they're yelling about soccer, at least.
Yes, and that's always a fun watch. But usually if you can't tell what's going on in a telenovela within the first 5 or 6 minutes, then it's a really bad telenovela.
That's why I turned it off. Okay, back to the Twitch pitch, because we got comments. Max Allegri was on Dancing with the Stars, I guess, that Nick is still yelling. So stop yelling at me. I'm sorry. I didn't know Max Allegri was dancing.
In Italian.
I mean, it's good that Max Allegri's doing something right now. If Dancing with the Stars is it, good for him. I'm happy for him. Okay, comments on the Twitch pitch about things we've said so far. Rope says, can you give an explanation of what a 6 would cover? There was a lot of talk about, do you need a 6? Do you need a 6 and 2/8? Do you need a 6.25? A 6, for me, the way I use the term, it's the same as a 5 in Argentina. It's a defensive midfielder. It is a defensive midfielder. You can pair your midfield trio up a lot of different ways. Most teams play 3 in the central midfield now. It's not universal, as we saw in a 3-4-3. You can navigate it in some different ways, as we see in a 4-4-2 diamond. Teams will play 4 in a diamond shape in the midfield. 4-2-2-2. It can be more of a box in the midfield. Most teams are playing 3. 3-5-2 would have 3 in the midfield. A 4-3-3 typically has 3 in the midfield. 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the 6 for me is more about how they play and their responsibilities. It is the most defensive of the midfielders. But I think in the way Atlanta wants to play, you need a 6 who is not just defensive, who is just going to be a crunching tackler, not the old school. I think Gattuso gets put into this a lot of times. Maybe Roy Keane gets put into this a lot of times. They could do more than just be the crunching tackler and the destroyer as a 6. They were more well-rounded than that. But you need a 6 who can be well-rounded. You need a 6 who is good on the ball. You need a 6 who is defensive, because I think at times you've seen, even with Jeff Larentowicz, who is I think the most disciplined 6 that Atlanta has right now, he'll go hunt the game a little bit and maybe get caught out of position. Eric Remedi, when he's playing the 6, he does like to go and chase the game. Mo Adams sits at home more when he plays the 6, but Mo doesn't give you as much of the other sides that you need with that passing, with that range of passing, being able to control a game there in possession, know when to go faster, know when to slow it down, those kinds of things. That's what I'm looking for out of the 6. I feel like it is the biggest gap that the team has right now, because Larentowicz, Remedi, Adams are the 3 that we've seen in those roles. Larentowicz probably retiring after the season, although that's not a definite. Remedi, I think, has struggled as the 6 this season. He struggled as the 6 by himself. He struggled, honestly, to be fair, he struggled in the last calendar year. Going back 12 months, he's not been the same player he was in 2018 and even early in 2019. Flashes, yes, but consistently he's tailed off, and it's frustrating because I think he's a very useful, valuable player, but he hasn't delivered consistently. That's it. That's their 6. Meza can play it. We haven't seen it here. He played it for Necaxa last season at times. Walks played it developing on his way up. He hasn't played it professionally in Atlanta. He might have played it a little bit at Portsmouth, but it was not his primary or even secondary position at Portsmouth. I think getting a top 6 in the league would be a thing that could put this team over the top. So that's where I'm at with it. Uncle No Pocket says, well, so how would you define Hindman? He's occupying a large part of the salary cap, not convinced he should go, but his performance has gone down from last year. That's where you get into the question of how you structure this midfield, because I could see a scenario with Moreno, Hindman, and a 6 behind them, and Moreno and Hindman are essentially 2 8s. Hindman can play an attacking role as more of a 10. He's not a pure 10. He's not a old school Juan Ramon Riquelme or Carlos Valderrama kind of 10 where he's just spraying passes everywhere. I think he's a little bit better suited to play from a deeper position. From what I've seen of Marcelino Moreno, and this is not in Atlanta, this is with Lanús, and what I've read about Marcelino Moreno, he's better from a little bit deeper position than being a pure 10. I think he could play a 10 kind of role. Miguel Almiron was not a pure 10 either, and he worked in that role. He also had, at varying points, Carlos Carmona and Jeff Larentowicz behind him. He had Jeff Larentowicz and Eric Remedi behind him. He had Eric Remedi and Darlington Nagbe behind him. So Almiron had players behind him, but he still dropped and defended. Moreno would play it in that kind of way. If he played the 10, could then Hindman be the 8 paired up with a 6, and Hindman is the mixed midfielder who's defending and attacking? Yes. He's got competition with Mateus Rossetto. I'm talking about it right now outside of the salary conversation, but it is part of the conversation just because we don't have those numbers yet, because the MLSPA hasn't released anything from the 2020 season. I'd love to see what those numbers look like now, because that will factor in. You know, you do have to make decisions, and the salary in MLS does affect your decision-making process. It has to. Hindman struggled in the middle of the season. My thoughts on Hindman, I thought he was good early. I thought he struggled in the middle. He struggled fairly recently, but his last 2 performances have been very good. I don't know if he's feeling the pressure of Moreno coming in. I don't know if he's looking at the long term. I don't know if he's been challenged. But his last 2 performances have been good. He's got to consistently be better. And that's the step for me, because Rossetto's going to push him. And yeah, you could be looking at a midfield. If you go get a 6, with that 6, with Eric Remedi, with Mateus Rossetto, because Remedi can play the 8 as well. He's a little more defensively minded in it, but he can play the 8. So, new 6. This is assuming Jeff Larinowitz retires, but it is not a guarantee yet. New 6, Remedi, Adams, Rossetto, Heineman, Moreno. And you might add a new 10 on top of that. If you play new 10, Moreno, and new 6, well, then that leaves Heineman and Rossetto and Remedi out. That's where you've got some tough decisions. That's the part of the field that I think is going to be the toughest to decide where you go forward. The salaries are going to have something to do with that. The potential availability of a 10 and a 6 are going to have something to do with that. I think a 6 is a priority. I think it's very important for this team to be able to play the way it wants to play. So we'll see. But Heineman right now, I think Rossetto, I think Remedi, I think Adams, I think Larinowitz are all playing. If they want to be here next year, they've got to show it now, because this is when the decisions are going to start to get made going forward. So that's where I'm at on it. Any thoughts on the midfield?
Well, yeah, for me specifically, it's about Heineman, and it's the great unknown with Emerson Heineman. Remember that Emerson Heineman has been battling COVID-19, and we don't know how that has affected his game this year. We don't know how it's affected him physically and where he is in this process. Because just as a point of reference, a very close friend of ours who's a part of the network, he's been fighting the after effects of COVID-19 for 4 months now when it comes to quality of breath and being able to just do day-to-day things. And so that's always just something that's in the back of my mind when it comes to what we're seeing with Emerson Heineman this year, is just his battle with COVID-19 and how that's affected his play this season.
Yeah, it has to be in the back of the mind. I mean, we don't know. We don't know how much it's affecting, if anything, but Emerson came out and said that he was one of the players who early on tested positive. It was fairly quick that he was able to return to training because you didn't have players out for an extended period of time, but we don't know what the effects are. And that's something you need to keep in mind. But these last 2 performances from him have been very good. You want him, and here's my one thing about all of the talk about his salary, because there's been a lot of it. Darlington Nagbe's salary versus his stats was not talked about like Emerson Heineman's salary versus stats has been. And they're different players. Darlington Nagbe, I agree, I think has shown you more in that kind of an 8 role than Heineman has so far. But why is the pass being given for one and not the other? Heineman, when you look at the numbers, beyond just basic stats, beyond goals and assists, they're pretty good. They need to be better, and they can be better, I think. And that's where I'm frustrated, is I think he can play even better. I'm not comparing it just to the salary number and saying he's got to score more goals because he's getting paid a certain amount. That wasn't what people said about Nagbe. Now, that was some of the conversation about Nagbe in Portland. That was some of the conversation before he came to Atlanta. But it's not just, especially in that role, it's not just straight up goals, assists. You're looking for more, and you need more from Heineman. But I think you do need to look at the big picture with Heineman. Just because he's replacing Nagbe or just because he's not scoring a bunch of goals and assists doesn't mean he's not contributing. These last couple of performances have been very good.
Yeah.
Chris Ashley's yelling at me again. Don't ignore my hashtag SDH Roadshow tag. Chris, you guys got to get there first. Let's be real. You guys got to get there first. 2, we're going to need some help in making sure that our safety is guaranteed here, because I'll still have Atlanta United games afterwards. And I've said it. I'll say it again. I've said it many times. I'm being extremely careful right now because I'm working, and I'm working with people in a booth, and we're socially distanced. We're wearing masks when we come in, take the mask off when we're getting ready to call the game. But I'm looking out for Mike. I'm looking out for Miller Pope. I'm looking out for David when he fills in for Miller, when Miller's got Georgia Tech duties or other things going on. I'm being really, really careful about doing anything that could put me at risk, that could then put them at risk. So I'm it's nothing with Greenville. It's nothing with the Triumph about road shows. I'm very wary of anything right now in that way. And I say whatever you want about it. I don't really care. I'm looking out for the people around me, and I just got to be careful because of them. And we'll still have games after that. So that's the one thing that's in my head. But you guys got to qualify first. Don't jinx yourselves, Chris.
We do have a Kefsey update.
Okay, what was Kefsey's extra role as?
I have to check the season and episode numbers. I remember a house party we all danced at. My older brother, Orlando fan, got tossed a room key by Joshua Jackson in some episode where they went skiing and had lodging. They filmed so much in that area. First thing we did was I Know What You Did Last Summer. So yeah. Kefsey was in that too.
Nice. I vaguely remember that. I don't remember the details of the episode, but I vaguely remember that time. I got to go back and look at it now. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, Kefsey.
Yes. So that is our Kefsey. That is our Kefsey teen drama down here update.
Okay. So,
hopefully, the dentist went well after that.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. We'll get caught up on the madness of the Twitch pitch because it's all over the map. Anything else on Twitter we got?
Yeah, I've got a couple of quick things.
Okay, let's hit those.
Tafka says, I love that Americans are finally breaking through in a major way in Europe, but we cannot feel content. 8 to 11 players isn't enough. I'm not okay with a golden generation in quotation marks. I want a golden half century. Give me 100-plus players across Europe first divisions between now and 2050.
Can you dig it?
I mean, settle down a little bit. Let's be happy with what's going on, but no, don't be satisfied and don't settle. I'm with that, but slow down. It's okay. You can't guarantee a golden half century because England would have tried to have done that a long time ago, and they've kind of struggled with it. Their golden generation didn't win Bupkis. Their next generation actually.
Well, they would have won Bupkis, wouldn't they? If Bupkis is
no, they didn't even win Bupkis. They didn't even get past a quarterfinal.
Yes.
At least getting past the quarterfinal would be Bupkis, in my opinion.
Yes, they had 0 Bupkises to win.
Yes. That's a good try, though. I know where you're trying to go with that, but
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Not true. A surprise.
Uh-huh.
Nathan Pugh says, did you say Roy Keane? Please hold. Klopp is on the other line.
Jurgen Klopp and his ridiculousness. Somebody tell Jurgen Klopp to relax. Like, have a chamomile tea. He overheard Roy Keane saying something about there were sloppy moments in the match, and he went nuts about it.
I don't think there were sloppy moments.
He thought everything was perfect. Well, it wasn't perfect. Your goalkeeper had to make a couple of big saves, so you didn't have a draw. So chill out, bruh. Like, you won the league last year. You won Champions League the year before. Nobody's questioning you anymore. You're questioning yourself and freaking out. Relax, man.
RELAX.
No, I'm not playing that guy's sounder at this point. He's going to whoop up on the Falcons this weekend. That's not good.
The Colonel's in this morning, and he does make a soccer over their point for the day. Europa group stage on the line in Dublin at 2:30 Eastern. Dundalk and Klaksvik from the Faroe Islands. # come on the town. # balance the budget, and the up-to-date numbers for the 2:30 Eastern time start. Dundalk, a -156. Klaksvik from the Faroe Islands, a +413, and your draw is a +282.
Vamos Dundalk. Make that money so you guys can balance your budget.
Let's see. Who else is playing of note? Malmo and Granada at 1 o'clock. Hapoel Beersheva and Victoria Pilsen at 1:30. Dinamo Brest and Ludogorets at 2. Legia Warsaw and Karabag from Azerbaijan at 2. Standard Liège is playing at 2. Basel and CSKA Sofia is at 2:30, along with Dundalk, Young Boys and Tirana, AEK Athens and Wolfsburg. Rangers and Galatasaray at 2:45. Rangers a -133. Galatasaray a +324. Rio Ave out of Portugal is playing AC Milan. AC Milan's a -192 at 3 o'clock. Sporting out of Portugal and LASK. What did we say that LASK was officially? It's not. Is it Lask? Is that
Lusk?
Lusk. Okay. So Sporting and Lusk. Sporting's a +102, and Tottenham and Maccabi Haifa at 3 o'clock. Tottenham is a -625. Maccabi Haifa a plus 1,400, and your draw is a rather demonic plus 666 in the aggregate.
Okay. Good times.
So that's your Europa League down here, juice boxes or breakfast foods. And since we're not to Halloween yet, we won't do Halloween candy.
No, not quite. It's too early for that. We've got a report. The Guardian has an article about how in Spain they are not using the changing rooms right now. They're not using the locker rooms. So players are showing up. They say a few minutes later, Atletico arrived. Luis Suarez heading in wearing bright yellow football socks and shorts, a training top, and a small rucksack like a schoolboy going to a game. Joaquin said all we need to do when we arrive at the ground is put our boots on, just like old times. They have decided that the locker rooms is one of the spots where you could have transmission. A lot of teams, this was part of the MLS protocol, and I know at the training ground for Atlanta United, they've separated everybody, so it's far fewer people in one locker room. Enclosed indoor spaces are higher risk. We know that. So different clubs have done different things, but they're not having their normal locker room situation. They're not having showers, for example, there. They're not changing clothes at the ground, at the stadium. Not at home, not away, according to Joaquin. The visiting team get back on their bus or their buses. Supposed to be two of them. They do in their kit, but they probably put on their warm-up or whatever, or maybe change their top or whatever they need to do. Treatment waits until they get back to the hotel. They get out of there as quick as they can. On Wednesday, Atletico's bus had pulled away within 16 minutes of the final whistle of their draw. They left Diego Simeone behind to do the press conference. That's maybe the biggest change in normal things that I've seen. I haven't seen other leagues in any sport go to that length.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. It's smart. There's reasons for it, but yeah, I haven't heard of anybody else doing it to that degree just yet. That's interesting. A couple other bits of rumor before we get into the Twitch pitch. According to Sam Wallace of The Telegraph, PSG to make one final push to sign Dele Alli on loan from Tottenham. There's just no way he could stay at Tottenham. I'm not buying it. According to some reports, Bayern Munich kept on calling to try to sign Dest even when he was already in Barcelona. They kept working on it. They didn't get it done. That's final and announced today. That's it. That's the catch-up. If you missed the first part of the show, we talked about the San Diego Phoenix situation. I've not seen anything else to follow from that. We are just before 8 o'clock on the West Coast, so maybe we'll hear more from San Diego and Phoenix as the day goes on. The USL Championship has to make a decision on the outcome of the match. Do they complete it? Do they forfeit San Diego? I don't know what they're going to do here. They've got to make a decision on how they handle the allegations that have been laid on them about what Junior Fleming said. He has denied it. Phoenix has denied it. As a team, they have to figure out if they want to do anything about what their manager said that has been, I think, fairly strongly proven to be false in the way he handled things afterwards. That was all in the first half hour of the show. If you missed that, go back and check it out on the podcast edition that'll drop soon after this. You can also rewatch on Twitch as well. That's open for anybody to go back and rewatch right now. So catching up on the Twitch pitch, and it's going to be all over the place. So on the Peach kits, Badgermon said, check your Marshalls, Ross, TJ Maxx stores. Found some authentic King Peach there right before COVID hit us. Maybe there could be some there. Ricky Ricardo is going to go back and watch to see how we got on to teen dramas down here. Katie Weaver showing some love for Emily Valentine from 90210. Great character. That was good times.
Who is Emily Valentine?
So you're gonna bring up people like Nikki and others, and you don't remember Emily Valentine?
The earlier episodes, and then as it got later on, I kind of faded out.
Emily Valentine was during the whole time with around Nikki and all that. How do you not remember? You're not a 90210 fan. I withdraw your card.
Yeah, go ahead.
You no longer have a 90210 fan card if you don't remember Emily Valentine.
Who's the actress?
Christina Lees.
Oh, okay. There we go.
You still get a card for that. You get a yellow card for that. That's absurd.
Yeah, whatever.
No, it's absurd. There's no way around it. Lots of praise for USL getting on ESPN Deportes. Atlanta Phoenix wants to see the USL Championship in FIFA. I agree. I do want to see that.
Yes.
The Hartford goal was the wildest that Ricky Ricardo has seen in a minute. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Katie says the OneFootball app can't even get lineups correct often. I'm intrigued. I thought it was pretty good, but I'm usually checking it a little bit later, so maybe they have some problems actually getting the lineup. Opta does the stats for the games, and sometimes, thank you, John, you downloaded an app. Good for you. Good job. Do you want a cookie?
It depends on the cookie.
Yeah, that's what I've thought.
Can't have any salt.
Just going to leave it. Opta sometimes gets the lineups very wrong when I try to put people in positions. It's been humorous this season. I think maybe they're dealing with some different Opta folks than usual because they have not caught up to some of the changes in lineup structures that some teams have had. Burned with a question about Boca Juniors. Why is their playing style so uninspired/timid? Aren't they the largest, richest club in South America? So their new talent should allow them to dominate games. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, when I started watching the Argentine League closely, I caught the tail end of Schelotto's run there. And I think a lot of people hammered Schelotto saying he wasn't tactical, he just had stars, and he just won with talent. I think that's a little harsh. It was about the individual players far more than a team like River was. I'll agree with that. Alfaro, when he came in, I thought he was way too defensive for the talent they had. And the semifinal in the Libertadores with River, I was just blown away by how negative Alfaro approached it. I don't know if they're still kind of shaking that off or what, or they're just in a point where as a club, they're so big that they don't want to lose, so they play kind of not to lose, and they wait for Carlos Tevez, who's been amazing lately. I mean, he is turning back the years, delivering great performances. They wait for Salvio. They wait for one of their stars to win the game for them. And, I mean, it works more often than not. But I do think it hurts them in the games against teams that can play with them. And River's not afraid of them. Flamengo's not afraid of them. I think top teams in South America are not afraid. They can bully everybody else and play this way, but they can't elevate their game against better teams. That's what's so frustrating. I'm with you, though. It is very frustrating. I don't get it. I don't know why it's like that. It has to change. They need to get a better manager. Four-card, no, there's not a rumor about a new six. I'm saying they need a new six. That's where I am at. I have not seen a rumor about a six. I've not seen any other rumors about any other players, to be perfectly honest. We will see. Uncle No Pocket, I'd be all about a DP number 6. I have no problem with it. If it's the right player and it makes the team better, I think you have enough talent elsewhere that you can absolutely do that. I have no problem with that if it's the right signing. Byrne says, who do you think is currently the best 6 in the world, current form? He goes with Kimmich, nasty on the tackle, plus goal dangerous with shots as a late arriving midfielder. I love his game. And, yeah, it's hard to argue with that one. Man, you've got, I think, some generations of 6s who are kind of near the end of their influence, so it's a little bit hard. I can't come up with anybody better than Kimmich off the top of my head, but let me think on that one, Burned. I like that shout. I'm not coming up with anybody to argue with you on that one right now. Katie says, want to see Meza try the 6, maybe next year if Campbell is ready. I'm not against it. I think you have to solve that position on the field for this team. And if Meza solves it, even better. And it might not just be Campbell being ready. It might be Escobar playing center back and Brooks Lennon playing right back going forward. That could solve the problem as well and move Meza into the midfield if you so choose. 4-card says, where do Andrew Carlton and Lagos Kunga fit when their loans end? Lagos is a winger. It's going to be tough. I don't know if he's shown enough, and I would assume that there's probably an option on his contract for next year. I don't know if you've seen enough to say he's an MLS player. And I love Lagos as a person. Love him out on the field. I think he's a great 1v1 player. It's not going to be a big contract, but I don't know if he's shown you enough yet. I think he's really close. I really do. I think he's very close. I think he's got the talent to be an impact player off the bench in MLS for a team like Atlanta. But Atlanta is going to always be looking to add more impact, and I don't know if this is the best spot for him. He's absolutely a USL Championship player. There's no question about that for me.
Yep.
He can be an MLS player in the right situation, but I don't know if he's shown you enough to stick. Carlton, I think has shown you enough that he can play in MLS. I don't know if he plays for this team. I don't think his comments necessarily helped him in the article in The Athletic. I don't think they helped his long-term future in Atlanta. Atlanta has an option on his contract. I think they probably pick it up because he's an asset. And I would assume that there would be MLS teams that would be interested in bringing him in. He can play in MLS. I'm not worried about that. Is he a player at a top team in MLS? That's the question. And Atlanta wants to be a top team. Could he be a starter at a lower tier team in MLS? No question about it for me. But I don't think his comments helped his long-term future here. So I don't know if either one of them cut through to that next level. George Bello, for example, has cut through to the next level as a player coming from the academy, left back, who is now becoming one of the best left backs in the league. George Bellows advanced past it. George Campbell still has work to do to advance past being a reserve option at center back. You've got more coming. Efrain Morales is going to be a homegrown for next year. Younger. Is he going to play mostly with Atlanta United too? I would assume so in his first full professional year. And we see where he could be. And there's more coming behind that. So for Carlton, I just don't know if there's a fit in Atlanta long term. You sound like you had something to say.
No, I'm right there with you. No, I think that with both of them, I think that Andrew has proven that he can be an MLS player. I just don't know if it's here. And Lagos, I think that you're spot on with that assessment as well.
Burn says, we have too many midfielders, not enough quality relative to the rest of the league, and not very compatible complementary. Give me Chicago's midfield over ours, or Columbus, New York City, or Philadelphia. Everybody has hammered this whole thing about talent. I mean, I've seen ridiculous takes as to Atlanta's operating on the cheap, which is just completely and utterly wrong. Emerson Hyndman was at a Premier League club. Now, he was struggling to fit in there. I think if he had stayed at Fulham, which should have been his fit, he would have been okay. And USL or D Championship and bouncing back and forth, okay. It's not like he was a bum. Let's throw that out into the trash a little bit. Like, oh, that's just a horrible signing. No, it wasn't a horrible signing. Mateo Sosatu is a player with a good bit of experience at a young age in the Brazilian top flight. He had fallen out of favor at the club he was at. Hyndman wasn't breaking through at Bournemouth. These are not players who were coming from nothing. Sometimes signings just don't work. I don't think these are two players who are not talented. Now let's go to the next part that Burn is saying. I'm not saying this about Burn saying that. I'm saying in general, like I've seen things like, oh, Atlanta's just trying to get cheap and they're signing bums. No, that's not the case. Did the signings work as well as you hoped? So far, you want more from Hyndman and Hosetu. You do. You want Remedi to get back to the form he was at. I mean, Remedi was the one who came from the smallest club of the three, from Bonfield. And Toto Dynamo, don't come at me. Not disrespecting Bonfield. Just saying, compared to Paranaense, compared to Bournemouth / Fulham and all that, he was the one who came from the smallest club. In terms of they're not very compatible complementary, that's the part that I look at and I wonder how they solve it. Now, Moreno will be a different element to it. And does he make the other pieces fit better? I don't know yet. Well, there's no way to know. You also include Adams and Lorenowitz into that. You haven't created the midfield trio that, no question, this is the three you go with. It took Chicago time to do that too. They were bouncing around different ideas, moving Mihailovic out wide and playing Herbers as the 10 in front of Jimenez and Medran has worked. Going out and signing Jimenez and Medran, good signings. Good signings. I have no problem with those. In terms of where they were coming from, it's not that dramatically different than Heinemann and Josetu, to be perfectly honest. It's worked out better. Jimenez, a little bit older, a little more of a veteran. Medran came up at Madrid, then bounced around a little bit. I like that Chicago midfield a lot. I like Philadelphia's midfield. I think Jose Martinez, when you compare signings and quality and was it a good signing or not, Martinez was more of a flyer. Now, it's worked great, and I really like his game, and it's a big upgrade from Medunjanin. It's given that midfield far more quality. Bedoya is the leader of that team, a force. You have leadership in that group, too, and he's still delivering at a high, high level. Montero, really good signing, and they do the diamond with Aronson connected to that group, and it's a great fit. New York City, Ring, top player. They've kind of bounced around different ideas around him at times. So I don't know if I'd put New York City's midfield as elite. Ring is elite. Maxi Morales is elite when he's healthy. Mitrita as a 10 we'll have to see more of, but it could work. Columbus, I still question Columbus defensively, and I don't think they have the depth. If they have injuries in the midfield, they're in big, big trouble. But Nagbe, Artur, Zelarayan, good trio. Not all that strong defensively, and we saw that hurt LAFC last season when Atuesta is not the traditional 6 and wasn't able to be the rock defensively that you needed at times. I think Columbus is set up that way, so they've got to dominate to not have that situation happen. That's the way they want to play, but can you dominate in finals? We'll have to see. I'm still, the jury's out a little bit on Columbus. Talking about U.S. players, basically about Europe, Bernd has a good point. Brazil has 60 players currently in the UEFA Champions League. The U.S. has 7 or 8. That's not that far back. In 10 years, there'll be 20 to 25 Americans playing in Champions League, as Bernd's prediction is. I'm okay with that. Yeah, if you get to that point, that'd be great. I do also say that doesn't mean you can't have players from MLS playing for the national team. You can. Just because a player is in a Champions League team doesn't mean that they're necessarily, no question, better. It's about comparing the individual players and comparing what the team needs. MLS needs to continue to get better as well. It's not that every young American player should go to Europe as fast as they can, because we've seen plenty that it didn't work out for. They need to go to the right fits, the right clubs, and if they're in a good fit in MLS and they're developing as a player, okay, that's fine. Do that too. I think what we're seeing now that has changed is European clubs are not necessarily ruling out signing a Brendan Aronson, who has played a good number of games with Philadelphia and shown what he can do in this league. MLS is becoming a little bit more like some of the South American leagues in that regard, where players break through into the first team, play, show themselves, and then get that opportunity to go to Europe. MLS is turning into that a little bit. That's a really good sign. It's good for the league. It's a really good thing for the league. Mazzano is... go ahead. Sorry.
No, just going to say, as we're going on right now, since we're in stoppage time, just to let everybody know, right now the Champions League group stage draw is up and running, and you can catch that on CBSSports.com. They're giving you a free preview of All Access. You can keep an eye on the draw right now on CBSSports.com.
All right, we'll keep us posted while we're on. We're not going to be on a whole lot longer, but we'll get caught up. Mazzano says, hopefully won't lose the years of their life over the Braves game. That's starting in about 55 minutes. Yesterday, the game lasted like 87 hours.
Yes, it did, and it was painful.
Painful. That's kind of harsh.
A scoreless game that goes into extras. Was it the first time ever in the modern history of the baseball where you had a game one scoreless going into extra innings or something like that?
Why was it painful, though?
Because, it was great if you love pitching, because there was a lot of swinging and missing going on yesterday.
What's wrong with that? Like, why are you hating? Why are you hating?
Look,
you're hating.
As a pitcher, I love the fact when you can see artistry, but it's like, somebody score at least one. You're going into like the 11th and 12th and 87th inning. Somebody just scored just one.
You're one of these guys. Okay.
Actually, I'm a pitcher's duel guy more than anything else. I don't like.
So this wasn't a pitcher's duel.
I don't like Nintendo, if that's what you're getting at.
But this wasn't a pitcher's tool?
Where you had, but it was more, to me, it seemed more futility, where it's like dudes are swinging and missing all day long, and you have like 9,000 strikeouts. It's like, come on, guys.
I'll give the pitchers credit. I think you're being very harsh. People say it was painful, then it was bliss. That's Ricky. J.W. Parker says baseball is pain, and yesterday proved it. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the scoring. I don't have a problem with it. It was painful in terms of stress if you're a Braves fan.
Not a Braves fan.
I wasn't talking to you, John. Like, settle down, man. Now you're hating on the Braves. You're hating on everything. There wasn't enough scoring. So you don't like soccer either, do you?
Just give me one.
I don't like score. I need scoring. I need a 5-4 game.
Yeah, I need a 5-4 game.
I'm very disappointed in you, former pitcher.
This is you. All right, just keep going.
No, you're the one who said it. It was painful. And it was futile.
All the swinging and missing yesterday. It's like, come on, you can't make contact with a baseball?
Did you see Max Fried's curveball? Dude fell down trying to swing and hit the thing.
That was ridiculous.
Why don't you give Max Fried some credit? Why don't you give these pitchers some credit?
I give Max Fried a boatload of credit for that snap that he had on that curveball on that one. That was absolutely filthy.
And as usual, John looking at the negative side of it instead of the positive side. Give the pitchers some love, John, as a former pitcher.
Max Fried, you were epic.
All the pitchers who created strikeouts, you got to give them credit.
The pitchers that created strikeouts yesterday were epic.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound authentic. I'm very disappointed in you, former pitcher.
Pot 1, Bayern Munich, Sevilla, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Juve, PSG, Porto, and Zenit. They're going over the pot.
Yeah, those are the top ones.
We've had no real insertion of teams into group stages yet. They're just going over the pot.
Has there been a coordinated dance or a song sung yet?
No, there has not. We have just had 4 people in a studio discussing what's been going on.
That's no fun.
No.
Ricky asks about Lagos playing with the twos. Has he ever played with the twos? He has. But again, you're not keeping guys around on the twos out of sentimentality. You can't. That's what Barcelona did, and it's what wrecked their production line because they kept guys around because they liked them who they had decided weren't going to play for the first team. The twos are there to produce guys for the first team. Once you make the decision that somebody's not a first-team player, you can't keep them. It's not good for them either because they're going to get bumped. I mean, if you decide, okay, we're going to sign Lagos to a twos contract because we like him and we want to keep him, well, he's a winger, and when the academy has a winger that needs to get some time at the next level, Lagos gets bumped to the bench. When the first team has a winger who needs minutes to stay fresh, he's going to get bumped to the bench. That's not good for his career. That's not where he wants to be. So if he's not going to be a first-team player here, the best thing is for him to go somewhere where he is. That's going to be the key. If he's going to be a first-team player here, he has the opportunity to win a first-team job. Give him the opportunity to win a first-team job. The twos can't be for guys who you like but aren't quite good enough for the first team. You have to think they can be a first-team player.
Yeah.
You can't run a second team that way. Mizzano, talking about Carlton. I think it's only in the Athletic, Mizzano. I'm sure people have talked about it on subreddits and stuff, and they might have screen caps. I've seen some screen caps of some of the quotes from the article. I'm not going to share those because it is paywalled. I don't want to diminish the work that the Athletic is doing. But they're out there if you want to see the quotes. You won't get the full context, though. It's a really good piece. I've been critical of the Athletic at times with the way they've covered MLS this year. I do feel they are far too negative about the league at different points, and I don't know if it's just become personal with some of the writers and the way that they cover the league as a whole, the national side. I don't get it. But they do great work, and they do needed work. So that's just a personal preference with me, but I'm not going to share their stuff past it. It's out there if you want to find it, Mizzano, but the full context is very important, and they are absolutely worth a subscription.
We are now having discussions with important dignitaries for your introductions to determining the group stage. So we're gradually getting toward group stage determinations and disseminations, but we're still just having talking heads right now.
Gradually. We'll finish with Burns' comment. I think with 20 to 25 Americans in the Champions League and the UEFA Champions League, plus the MLS level raised to a top 10 league, which I think they're right there now. They're really close. You want to establish past that kind of gaggle of leagues that are all fluctuating between 6 and 14 maybe. You want MLS to be, I think you want them to be a 6, 7, 8 to be established as a top 10 league. He says the U.S. should comfortably and consistently make the quarterfinals in the World Cup, hopefully higher. I totally agree with that. Just the more players you have playing at the highest levels, getting tested, developing, you're going to have a better national team. And if you have a better national team, you should make quarterfinals. The draw can be crazy. You can have crazy results. You can have injuries, all those things. But they should be a top 10 team in the world if MLS continues to develop and you get more players playing in top clubs. You need both. I think this idea that you don't need MLS to be good, you just have players go to Europe. I don't think you have the players go to Europe if MLS isn't strong. You need both for the national team. You do. You need a place for them to start. You need a place for some of those players to stay. You need a place for players to come back to. You need that. The Argentine League, you don't want to get it quite to that degree, but the Argentine League, you get players breaking through at young ages, and then they are sold. The players who stick around and play their entire career at that level are not the top guys. They're not the guys who play for the national team typically, although you do get that happen sometimes. You do get players who come back to the Argentine League later in their career, sometimes in their late 20s, sometimes later than that, and sometimes they continue to play for the national team as well. You want MLS to get into that kind of ballpark, maybe not quite as extreme. You do want some guys to stick around and keep the league at a high level, but you do want to play young players, and when the time is to sell, time's to sell.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Still in talking head mode for Champions League.
All right, so Champions League draw is going on right now, cbssports.com. If you have all access, it's probably there too.
It is.
You've got Copa Libertadores later today, 6, 8, and 10, all on Fanati's, all on BN Sport. We're doing a watch-along for the Defensa y Justicia match with Delfín in Ecuador tonight, 10 o'clock. If you're going to watch it, come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. Chime in on what you're seeing, what you think. It'll be a fun time watching Defensa try to get into the knockout rounds. If Santos wins at 6 and Defensa wins at 10, then Defensa and Santos go through. I think that's it for today. We'll be back in the morning with a normal show. If you did not hear what Landon Donovan had to say, please go check out San Diego Loyal's Twitter account. It's about 4 minutes. It is absolutely worth your time. Full credit to Landon and San Diego for doing the right thing here. And hopefully Phoenix will do the right thing going forward. Hopefully there's a resolution to this very quickly. It doesn't need to drag on. It doesn't need to linger. So
yeah.
We'll keep you posted on all that and everything else going on. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Thanks, all y'all in the Twitch pitch. Maybe we'll have to have a separate teen drama down here show or some point because that got people going a lot more than I thought it would.
Yep.
Highly entertaining, even though John couldn't remember Emily Valentine.
But I remember Christina Lees. Okay, then whose character was more evil, Vanessa Marcil's or Tiffany Thiessen's?
More evil?
Yeah.
See, I didn't like the last couple of years of it, but I only remember her character name, Vanessa Marcil's character, because she was just
Gina Kincaid.
Gina, that's right. She was just completely evil. I didn't think there was much redeeming about her. Valerie, there was at least some redeeming things, but she was very calculated as well.
There you go. Okay. And a friend of the network, Poppy Miller, is now a part of the CBS Sports coverage. They have now gone back to CBS Sports, and so they're going back and forth between CBS Local and their crew in London as a part of the discussion. Still talking heads on the Champions League side of things.
All right, well, go over to cbssports.com, watch the Champions League draw, and we'll be back for some Libertadores tonight on the Twitch. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.